Colorado has become one of the top spots that Americans are relocating to these last few years. Well, what if you want to live in the mountains but still be able to commute to Denver? We're going to cover that in this video right here.
All right, let's go.
If this is your first time watching, Pete and Chelsea Sweeney here, and we are your Colorado real estate family. What we'd like to do on this channel is educate all of you guys on Denver and all of its surrounding cities. So if you're planning on moving into the beautiful state of Colorado, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button, little notification bell, that way you're notified every single time that we put out a new video.
Yeah, and as much as we love educating you about Colorado, we want to make this a reality for you. So if you're looking for a licensed real estate agent, here's our phone number right below right here. So give us a call. We are answering your phone calls every single day.
So this video came about because there's so many of you who are interested in the Denver metro area, but you're like, hey, I'm moving to Colorado. Colorado's known for its mountains, so why not live in the mountains, right? Without still having that short commute, or I guess short-ish commute down into Denver. That's what we're gonna dive into is 5 cities that might interest you if you are looking to work in the Denver metro area, but want to live in the mountains.
Yeah, the other thing too is you guys are often talking to us about the snow, and so you want to be in the mountains, but you're not actually sure you want to be really deep in the mountains and have to deal with all of that. So we're going to be talking about some things that are a little bit closer, and the first one starting with Evergreen.
Yeah, Evergreen, and we've covered the city quite a bit. Actually, I guess not quite a bit. Maybe I think we've only done 2 videos, but they've been super popular videos because you guys were interested in Evergreen, Colorado. And just kind of going off the top of my mind, I'm trying to think whether it's the closest, the furthest. Where are we at with Evergreen?
It's almost the closest, right? So it's the second closest city that we're going to be talking about today. It's actually 38 minutes from Denver. So, I mean, any of our suburbs surrounding Denver, you're going to be between 20 and 30 minutes. So 38 minutes into the mountains and still being able to have like that mountain feel, people are absolutely willing to drive that 38 minutes. So, and then as far as like things to do, so like why do people choose Evergreen? Well, I mean, you spent time as a kid at Evergreen Lake. So that's the big one. Evergreen Lake is beautiful, just absolutely beautiful. It's not super big. No. They have all the things they have there.
So they have, let's see, so they have the paddle boats, so they have paddle boards now. They have ice skating in the wintertime, which I don't know if you've ever ice skated on a natural lake where it's not indoors and they groom in, do all the Shaboni or what's the
Shaboni?
Shaboni. What's the thing called that?
I don't know.
It's Stromboli, whatever. That thing is a lot different. It's a lot bumpier. You know, you got the wind. Sometimes you can have it push you and stuff like that.
You could be doing so good. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, and then you just like face plant. Like, because you're like, oh, hit like a little bump in the thing. But
if you know what that machine is, why don't you comment down below? Let me know what it is, because I'm not the biggest hockey fan, so I'm not exactly sure what that machine's called.
I'm taking to my skating.
Correct me, all right? Correct me.
I will take in my skating and break them in. Okay, anyways, the lake, and the other thing about Evergreen is the little old town. Yeah. And it is pretty magical up there when it comes to like any of the holidays and stuff. So, you know, getting some food. There's not a ton of restaurants, but there is some like, oh, what's that one restaurant we went to that's really pretty on there?
I don't remember.
Shoot. Okay, we're gonna put it down below. But we went to this really awesome restaurant that's right actually by the little waterfall. The lake kind of has like the drainage system that goes down the river. I'll throw some B-roll in
so you can see what it's all
and the kids get really excited because it's like it makes it look like a big waterfall, and there's a restaurant by there. But yes, good eats, good shopping, and all of those things.
So I will say, like, driving into Evergreen, there's kind of 2 different parts of Evergreen. Where when you're coming in, that's more of your suburbia area where it is a little bit easier to commute from there into downtown Denver. When I was growing up, we actually had friends who lived kind of more up in the hills of Evergreen, and you're looking at probably 20 to 30 minutes just to get in downtown Evergreen from up above, because it's all dirt roads. If it's a bad snowstorm, that's a big thing. I mean, there's some days that you might not be able to make it into work because there's so much snow on the ground. You know, most of those roads aren't getting plowed because it is dirt. And so something to kind of really think about. If Evergreen is something that does interest you, you might be more into the beginning part of Evergreen as opposed to the one that the parts up in the hills.
Yeah, so tell us a little about schools.
Yeah, so the school, so Evergreen is actually Jefferson County RE1, and it is rated A-. So they still have great school systems up there. I believe their high school is rated like number 1 or 2 in the district, so that was kind of cool.
Jefferson County has good schools.
Yeah, they do have great schools.
Across the board, they have I mean, their average is an A for a reason. Like a lot of their scores or schools are A's. So, okay, so now what you're probably most interested in is what is it going to cost you to live in Evergreen? So, when we talk about cost of living, we always talk about the national average being 100. Anything above is going to be more expensive. Anything less than 100 is going to be less expensive. So, Evergreen is 158.8. Colorado as a whole, just so you guys know, because even though we're going off the national average, Colorado as a whole is known to be higher than national average. We're actually at a 120.5. Okay, what are the driving factors? The three things that are really leading to Colorado being higher than national average, and specifically in some of these mountain towns, are going to be your housing, your transportation, and miscellaneous. So real quick, miscellaneous might include restaurants, shopping,
boutiques.
We're going to get him a short made. Because if you haven't been following our channel, subscribe now. Peter's favorite word is a boutique, which is not even the word. But that's fine.
Hey, the funny thing is our partner Elena, she said the same word. So I think I'm rubbing off on a few people.
There are actually a lot alike, so that does not surprise me. Restaurants, and then also services. So those are some of the things that contribute into that miscellaneous. But those are also the three things across the board that we're going to be talking about today that will drive those numbers up here in Colorado. So if you stuck around this long, you're going to want to do this every single time because we're going to be covering the real estate specifics for each of these cities. So you're going to want to stick around all the way to the end. So tell us a little bit about real estate.
Yeah, so Evergreen, the median sales price is obviously much higher than it is in the Denver metro area. You look at a median sales price of $883. You have a lot of great properties up there, custom houses on a ton of land, and so that's what's really driving that number up. And it's actually only up 0.8% year over year. We're comparing 2021 to 2022 of November. Yep, there you go. So like I said, it's a big reason is just because you're buying acreage out there. You know, there's a lot of the houses have a ton of land, and they're just beautiful, gorgeous houses up there.
So if I were to give you some breakdown numbers, when we're looking at the cost of living, the housing section takes up 273 in comparison to 100 on the national average. So clearly that's going to be driving up Evergreen's cost of living. All the other things, though, are actually below, like their health is below national average, and then groceries and utilities, all of that is actually below national average. So it's really the housing that's driving that up.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that leads us into the second city that we're going to cover, and it's actually the closest to Denver, and that's going to be Conifer. It is 37 minutes to Denver, so really only like 1 minute when I was looking in comparison to Evergreen, but still took the top for being the closest. Why are people moving to Conifer? There's so many reasons. Conifer is absolutely gorgeous. And they also have actually one of the best hiking trails. It's called it's one of the famous hikes in Colorado, and it's called the Maxwell Falls, and so there's like a waterfall in it, and it's like people go there to actually do that hike. They also have a theater there that brings a lot of people in. It's called Stage Door. So they have a lot of different things to do outside of just enjoying the outdoors, which is the number one reason people move to these.
I'm trying to grasp my mind around this whole theater thing because most places have theaters. What's so special about this place?
It's because it's a small town. A lot of them don't have small theaters, and they actually have
a lot of
events
from like 2 years ago that are brand new.
No, not theaters. like.
Oh, you're talking about like plays and stuff. Oh, okay.
Yeah, the theater is really important. It actually brings a lot of people in from other cities. So, all right, let's talk a little bit about schools.
Yeah, so schools. So Conifer. Okay, so I'm trying to think about it. Okay. So Conifer is still Jefferson County, so it'll be similar to Evergreen, where you got the A- schools. And this one I know I did look up is Conifer High School is number 5 in the district. So still both cities have great high schools, but yeah, you're looking at A-, same school district, same ratings as all the others.
All right, cost of living. So cost of living up in Conifer is going to be 150.9 in comparison to 100 national average, 120.5 Colorado's average. And so it is going to be more expensive than Colorado. And again, the three driving factors are going to be your housing, transportation, and miscellaneous.
Well, Conifer's been getting a lot of construction lately too, because if you're ever driving through Conifer, it was just like constant road construction. It was super annoying. If you're trying to get like out to Buena Vista or anything like that, because that's the highway you take to get over there, it just took forever to get through Conifer. And so with all that development, we always talk about this, with development you come all the different growth that's happening in the city. So with that, real estate prices are probably going to go up too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So before he jumps into the numbers, let's talk a little bit about where it falls in comparison to Colorado's average. So Colorado, again, is 120.5. Over there in Conifer, it's 240.9. So again, significantly higher in the housing department. So how does that break down into numbers?
Yeah, so actually, it's only a $730,000 median sales price, and that's up 9.45% year over year. We're talking November 2021 to November of 2022. Not as high as a median sales price as Evergreen, Colorado. Conifer still has some great properties as well, too. I just think that Evergreen is a little bit more popular. Conifer would still be a great place to live. It's just a little bit further south of Evergreen.
Okay, so let's get into the third closest to Denver, and that is going to be Idaho Springs. So it's so funny because, like, I never really think of Idaho Springs when it comes to the mountain towns because it doesn't have that, like, how do I say this? People coming in from out of town might not think of Idaho Springs, but all of us locals, like, we do, and we have visited Idaho Springs. So it's not as popular as a name like Evergreen and Conifer and maybe a couple others that we'll cover, but it's still, like, very popular and is very close. So it's about 39 minutes to Denver, so definitely just as equally close as Evergreen and Conifer.
Yeah, and so one thing about Idaho Springs is I'd like to call it the highway city, right? Where it's like it's just directly off the highway. You don't have too many properties. You can go a little bit north and find some of those properties with more acreage, but most of them are near that downtown Idaho Springs where you just got like old style mountain housing lined up all along that main road that goes through Idaho Springs. So it's a little bit different. It's a little bit more congested because you're getting a lot of that ski traffic that's stopping in there. Like that McDonald's is probably the most popular McDonald's in all of freaking Colorado because the Starbucks there too.
And it's also like the only restaurant stop for like a minute.
Yeah, it's true. So you got a lot of bathroom breakers who are on there going up to the mountains. They're stopping in there. So something to really kind of consider with that. And then also Idaho Springs. Are you going to go into the stuff to do there?
Well, we can both do it. One of the things that we have participated in and most people have is going to be their hot springs. So now...
And actually, so let me cut in real quick because we had one of you who was out here recently. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go see the hot springs. Well, I personally recommend Idaho Hot Springs. It's called the Indian Hot Springs over the one in Glenwood Springs. Obviously, Glenwood Springs is the most popular one, but I just like Idaho better. It feels like it's a cave, and they also have a terrarium that does have a community style pool and everything in there, but it just feels more hot springs to me. Like I go up to Glenwood Springs and it's like it looks like an Olympic sized pool.
It does. It's bigger
and it's just like
there.
I'm like, okay, I want to experience a hot spring. I want to see the water coming out of the mountain, right? Yeah. And so that's what you really get to see in Idaho Springs.
But it is sulfur. And so it does have like a little bit of a smell.
Oh, but they both do. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but it's like a little bit more, I think.
It's probably just because it's enclosed.
Indian Hot Springs, I think, is a little bit more stinky.
it's enclosed. I
know, but it's like, it's like we got to talk about it.
That's all natural, right?
It's like
this is coming straight out of the mountain.
Got to talk about it. Okay. Also, they have the gold mine tours and all of that, which is what they're known for. Yep. This is going to be a very different feel than the other two cities that we've talked about. But again, a really great option to have that kind of smaller town that's going to be still just as accessible to Denver.
We actually had some friends who lived in Idaho Springs and they loved it. I know that he commuted all the way down into Denver because he had a job in Denver, but it was super quick. Since it's right off the highway, you just go straight up off the highway, and their house was, like I said, on that main road going through Idaho Springs that I talked about. And so they loved it. Convenient. It's just one of those spots that people are like, I want to be in the mountains, but I still have to commute down to Denver. And so it's one of the top picks, I think, because like Evergreen, if we talk about Evergreen, it's a little further off the highway than Idaho Springs is. The extra little distance going off the highway as opposed to Idaho Springs, it's right there.
Yeah, I think it's the most convenient.
Yep.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about schools.
All right, so Idaho Springs actually does have a different school district, unlike the last two cities that we talked about. It's Clear Creek School District, I think is what they call it or whatever, and it's a B-. And so that one's going to be incorporated with the next city that we're actually going to talk about as well too, which I won't reveal just yet. But
it's like, don't give it away.
You're looking at a B- in regards to the school system that's over there in Idaho Springs.
Okay, so now this is a big one about Idaho Springs, and that is going to be
Idaho.
And that is, oh gosh, we're getting real cute today. Okay, and that is going to be the cost of living.
Yep.
Every other city that we've covered thus far has gone way above the cost of living of Colorado. Again, 120.5. Yeah. Sorry to be a broken record. But Idaho's 113.8. So it's below Colorado's national average. So I don't know. What do you think that is?
Like I said, I mean, a lot of people.
The houses?
Well, yeah, the houses.
Smaller.
The houses are smaller. The real estate's not going to be as expensive because you don't have as many acreage lots there. It's all, like I said, more mountain style downtown, right? It's like this, and so you're also going to see that when we talk about the real estate. The median sales price there obviously is lower than these other two cities. I think that's one of the biggest driving factors to bringing it down a little bit.
So now, if we were looking at the numbers with cost of living on the scale that we typically use, it's actually going to still be higher than Colorado at 128.7, and that is just because it's still in the mountains. mountains, and so it's still pretty desirable. They still are higher than, being out of the mountains. So let's get into the numbers of that.
Yeah, so if you're looking at the median sales price for Idaho Springs, it's a lot cheaper than the other two that we talked about. You're looking at a median sales price of $666, and that is actually up 7.91% from year over year. We're talking November 2021 to November 2022. So I want to make sure I say that every single time.
Yeah. The one thing I will say pretty openly is that they have a very specific house in Idaho Springs.
It is. It's I call it the mountain style, down.
I don't know, because it's like the siding that has the things, and there's different colors.
Like if you drive downtown Denver and you see all the old houses, that's what they're like. It's like there's not much distance in between them, and they just kind of lined up like that. It's like that, except the mountain version. I think that's what you're saying. The characteristics were obviously the roofs are a lot steeper there.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot more snowfall happening up in the mountains than you do down in downtown Denver.
But they're cute. They're not. They're
they're dinky.
Really
they're like
cool siding.
They all look like they're straight from the 1900s, like early 1900s, maybe even late 1800s.
And they're colorful sometimes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't know how to describe that anymore, but they have a very specific look.
Yep.
So if you like the way it looks, then you're golden, know? And it is a little smaller. There's probably some more custom homes a little further in to Idaho Springs, but right off of there right in the little town, it's going to all look very similar.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on. So the fourth city or mountain city that we're going to be covering is going to be Georgetown, which, guys, is kind of like one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite mountain cities by far, and it's just it's one of those small cities that hasn't grown super large yet. I don't know if it's going to be coming, but it's just, the downtown during Christmas time is amazing. It's lit up.
It's so magical.
And everyone's thinking about this. You have some downtowns that are up in the mountains that they're lit up and they're super packed and they're busy. Georgetown doesn't get like that. It still has that nostalgia back in it where it's it's still older. There's not a ton of traffic through it. It's quiet. And so I think that's why it's one of my favorite my favorite mountain cities to go to.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is a little further though. So it's going to be 51 minutes to Denver. Again, it doesn't feel that bad because the travel or the drive is really beautiful. So I don't think it's that big of a deal, but it is further. So if you're going every single day, 51 minutes, you got to evaluate whether or not that's going to be too far in the mountains for you. Now, if you're only going down every once in a while, that's not uncommon to be driving into their mountains.
Yeah, with Zoom now and all that stuff, remote jobs, maybe if you're only commuting, twice a week or so, it's worth it a little bit more for you to have that mountain lifestyle.
Okay, so now things to do in Georgetown. This is another reason we love it so much. So there's the Georgetown Loop. It's the railroad, so it's the train that goes around. The downtown, it has the best little food and drinks and breweries and all these
They have that cool little jewelry store down there too. I think I remember.
It's really great. Shopping down there. Now I will say that it's small, but towards the edges of Georgetown are pretty steep.
Yeah.
We went up there for, was it New Year's?
It was New Year's Eve, yeah.
And stayed up there. It was so gorgeous. Just the whitest New Year's Eve we've ever had.
Oh, man,
up in the mountains. I honestly kind of made us fall in love with Georgetown.
Oh yeah, it probably has something to do with that.
Yeah.
That kind of coming in and that memory of spending New Year's Eve there. It does for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. But they still have a lake, Georgetown Lake, and all of that. So
and they do ice races there. And so what they do is they race on it when it's frozen over enough, and they race on the lake. So that's super cool.
Yeah, and they have a lot of events. They do a ton of events around they have a tree lighting. They have some they have little festivals and all of that in the downtown. So you get this tiny little mountain town, but they still have those little festivals and things and all of that. So
do you like how majority of our activities are based around Christmas or wintertime? Because obviously it's near Christmas time, so we're
I know.
Oh, what's a great thing to do up there right now? And so yeah.
Well, and also I'm sorry if I'm smacking. I've got a little cold, and so I'm a cough drop in my mouth. But we're still recording for you guys, so that's how devoted we are. But okay, let's move on to the schools.
Yeah, so the schools, it's going to be the exact same as Idaho Springs. You're looking at that Clear Creek. I don't remember if it's Clear Creek County or what. Clear Creek School District. Let's just say that right there. And it's going to be that B-, the same exact thing as your Idaho Springs. So I show the same district.
All right, so when it comes to cost of living, this one surprised me because it actually comes in at 115.2, which is crazy to me that Georgetown is less than Colorado at 120.5. So as far as the housing goes, 139.3. So still above because, again, it's in the mountains, but way more affordable than any of the other cities we were talking about outside of Nederland.
Yeah, this is going to be the cheapest median sales price out of all these. It's actually the closest to Denver metro area. You're looking at a median sales price of $600,000, and that's up 8.11% from 2021 to 2022. And so it's Definitely one of the most affordable ones out of all these, the most affordable out of all these cities that we're talking about, which actually is...
It's really surprising to me.
Yeah, it is. It is surprising because it's such a beautiful city. It's another one of those that's also off the highway, but it goes a little bit further off the highway than Idaho Springs does. Idaho Springs, it feels like it's a strip. Georgetown, it just seems like you have a little bit more ground to cover in regards to what you could get off the highway.
It might be that it's a little further away.
Yeah, it is further, yeah.
Okay, so we didn't know if we were going to cover a fifth one, but we felt like we should because not everybody is traveling to Denver every day. Some people are traveling to Boulder, and it's still just a really popular city. So the fifth city that we're going to be covering in the mountains today is going to be Netherlands.
Yep.
So the reason we didn't know if we were going to cover it is because of the distance. It's actually an hour. It's over an hour. We were trying to stay under an hour.
Yeah.
But it's an hour and like 2 to 5 minutes from Denver, but even
it's close
closer to Boulder.
Yeah.
So very close to Boulder. Is this where our car broke down?
If we ever wrote an adventure book,
Oh my gosh.
this
We lived Netherlands.
Oh
Netherlands
yeah.
for a
We had
minute.
a vehicle. Just keep it short. We had a vehicle that broke down just right over by Rollins Pass, and our story incorporated catching a hummingbird in the store, hitchhiking like 3 times, running into apparently some dude escaped the mental hospital. It was just
All true.
We ended up like
We actually played a band with a washboard.
yeah,
with
the
friends.
band like had a washboard thing. It was.
And we learned about the guy who lives in the cave.
Yeah, there's a guy I don't know if he still does, but up in Netherlands who lives in a cave up there, and it was an experience. It was an experience. If we ever write a book about like just crap that we've done, it was pretty crazy.
Actually, very friendly people.
Super friendly. Like everyone took us in.
Friendly.
It was
helped us.
I've never hitchhiked in my entire life, and like we didn't have a problem whatsoever every single time we hitchhiked, and so.
Which is really dangerous. Don't do that.
Well, yeah, we didn't have kids then. We were, we could probably fend someone off if we needed to, so.
I would have ran. I would have ran. Okay, so as far as Netherlands cost of living, it's going to be $136.8. So actually more expensive than Colorado. And again, that comes in the housing because housing over there is $210. So we're jumping back up again above the 200s. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact it's in Boulder County.
Yep. So what does real estate look like in Netherlands? So the weird thing about this is the only city that we're covering that hasn't had a year-over-year gains from the real estate. So what we're looking at, so median sales price, and I just realized I think I told you the wrong number for Idaho Springs. This one is $666 for Idaho Springs was $655, and this one is actually down 9.76%, which surprised the living crap out of me because it's outside of Boulder, and Boulder just keeps going up and up and up. And so the fact that Netherlands, one of the closest mountain towns to Boulder, is going down, I don't know what that's all about.
I don't know what that's all about either. Yeah. It's interesting.
Maybe the guy living in the cave scaring him all away.
Oh my God, stop it. Okay, so there's a lot of things to do up in Netherlands, though. There is the Alpine Lake. A lot of people hike around that. There's a carousel of happiness. It's kind of like a historic carousel, which I thought was really cute. Yeah. They're actually known for it. What else? What else is there to do? Oh.
So they got the Frozen Man Festival, which I've never experienced this, but I hear about it all the time. All the radio stations always blast it all over, but they have a festival. Apparently there's a guy frozen in a block of ice, freaking party around him or something. I don't know. Yeah.
Is that real?
Yeah, it's real.
It's so weird. This is why we're not going. But clearly, there's also like normal things like music festivals all the time. They actually are kind of known for having a lot of music festivals.
What's the ski, Eldora? Is it Eldora?
Yeah.
Yeah, Eldora. So they have the Eldora Ski Resort, which is a huge...
Really close,
yeah, exactly.
So lots of things to do right here. And again, you are just tucked up in the mountains from Boulder. So... it's not uncommon. It's still really active. So you're going to see when you're driving up from Boulder up to Nederland, a ton of people climbing and using, they're on the river and all of that. Because every time we go up there, it's like every time you see a tiny little pull off, there's so many cars just parked there that are up in the mountains or are hiking and stuff like that. So
exactly.
Okay, so we covered 5 mountain cities, all in which are great options if you're trying to either stay close to Denver or even Boulder on that last one.
Yep.
If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment down below.
And of course, we're going to throw that phone number below right there. Give us a call, give us a text. It doesn't matter what day or time. We will answer those no matter what. And until next time, we love ya. Bye.
Bye.
So why don't I want to live? So why not? You good? Great little city. It's probably, what would you say? Is it the closest or near the closest?
Sorry. I thought you were going to go into it. And I'm like, babe. Okay. You good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that leads us into the second thing, or the second. Okay, ready? And. Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
So Why are people moving to Conifer? Well, there's a number of different reasons. Most of these, gosh, I'm struggling. So is
shouldn't put
out of the different. Oh my God, I'm having a really hard time today. Can you just fix all that?
Or Evergreen, not the others. All right, cool. We're gonna.
Your transitions are rough today.
I know they are.
Okay, so no. Wow. I need more coffee. Okay, so as far, what are we talking about? Netherlands? Okay.
Netherland.
And of course,
Guy, we're gonna. Of course, Guy.